Ooh, hello, everybody. So, today I want to read a book called How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin by Margaret McNamara, illustrated by G. Brian Karras. Okay, let's find out how the story works. Charlie liked school. He liked his teacher, Mr. Tiffin. He liked his best friend Alex, but he did not like lining up go into school. Mr. Tiffin's class lined up by sides, tallest to smallest, or smallest to tallest. Charlie was the smallest in the class every time. One chilly fall morning, Charlie was surprised to see 3 bright orange pumpkins on Mr. Tiffin's desk. One pumpkin was big, and one was medium, and one was small. How many seeds in a pumpkin? Mr. Tiffin asked the class. Does anybody know? Nobody knew, but everybody had ideas. The biggest one has the most, said Robert. I bet it has 1 million seeds. Robert was the tallest boy in the class. The medium has 500, Eleanor said. Eleanor always sounded as if she knew exactly what she was talking about. The tiny one has 22, said Anna. Anna liked even numbers than odd ones. Mr. Tiffin wrote all the guesses down on the blackboard. Charlie was very quiet. What are you thinking, Charlie? Asked Mr. Tiffin. I'm thinking that all the best guesses that are taken, Charlie said. Why don't we open these pumpkins up and see, said Mr. Tiffin. The next day, kids in Mr. Tiffin's class brought in spoons for scooping and bowls for holding and plastic bags for throwing out. They covered the floor with newspaper. They put on their smocks. It's a messy business counting the pumpkin seeds, said Mr. Tiffin, but the class was ready. After Mr. Tiffin cut a circle around each pumpkin stem, Kimmy, Alex, and Jake pulled off the caps. The children peered inside. This big one definitely has the most, said Robert. We'll see, said Mr. Tiffin. The pumpkin pulp was slimy and stringy, and the seeds were hard to get out. When the children were finished, there were 3 empty pumpkins, 3 full bowls, and 20 messy hands. Tomorrow, we will find out the answer to our question, said Mr. Tiffin. Tonight, your homework is to think about how we should count all the seeds. That afternoon, Mr. Tiffin dried the seeds. The next day, he put them in 3 paper bags marked big, medium, and small. Do you do your thinking homework? He asked the class. Yes, Alex said. I think we should just guess. I think we should count very, very carefully, said Tara. I think we should count by 2s, 5s, and 10s, said Molly. Robert, Kimmy, and Jake all wanted to count the seeds in the big pumpkin by twos. Anna asked if she could join them. "We can be the twos club," she said. They practiced counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, they said together. Jeremy, Tara, Elena, Molly, and Alex like counting by fives. "We'll count the seeds in the medium pumpkin," said Molly. "We can be the 5 club. 5, 10, 15, 20, they cheered. "The smallest? I'll take the smallest pumpkin," said Charlie. "I guess I'll be the 10s club." "Good idea," said Mr. Tiffin. 10, 20, 30, Charlie began. Soon, there were many groups of seeds in front of each pumpkin. The Twos Club. "See," said Robert. "The Twos Club has the most. They had 170 pairs of seeds." "We have lots too," said Elena. "We have 63 group of 5 seeds and 1 seed left over." The 10th Club. Charlie had exactly 35 group of 10 seeds. Robert looked at the seeds in front of Charlie. "You don't have a full lot," he said. "Let's get counting," said Mr. Tiffin. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, began Robert, Kimmy, Jake, and Anna. It took a long time to count 170 pair of seeds. "My brain hurts," said Anna. "The biggest pumpkin has 340 seeds, almost 1,000,000, said Jake. The 5 were a little easier. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, chanted Jeremy, Tara, Elena. And there were 116 seeds in the medium pumpkin. "Too bad for you," said Robert. "It's not a contest," said Molly. The 10s were the fastest of all. There were 35 groups. 10, 20, 30, 40, Charlie counted to himself. "This can't be right," he said. "What can't be right?" "There were 350 seeds in my little pumpkin," said Charlie. "That means it has the most of all." "So it does," said Mr. Tiffin. "Congratulations, Charlie," said Alex. "The 10 Club wins." "It's not a contest," said Robert. Mr. Tiffin told the class to gather around. "You can never tell just how many seeds are in a pumpkin until you open it up," he said. "But there may be some clues." "Take a good look at these," the class did. "Charlie's is darker orange," said Anna. "And it has more lines on the outside," said Robert. "Yup," said Mr. Tiffin. "For each line on the outside, there is a row of seeds on the inside." "That's good to know," said Elena. And the longer the pumpkin grows, the more lines it gets," he added. "Its skin gets darker too, So even though my pumpkin was smallest, it was a vine of the longest, said Charlie. Exactly, agreed Mr. Tiffin. When it was time to go home, the class lined up by the door. Smallest to tallest this time, said Mr. Tiffin. Robert was at the back. Alina was in the middle. Charlie was at the front. Small things can have a lot going on inside them, Charlie said to Mr. Tiffin, and they left the classroom with Charlie leading the way. Goodbye.